Most fitness businesses suck, but most coaches are pretty good. I know this because I lived it. My business systems were a 2 out of 10. My coaching was about a 7. After I improved my business systems to an 8, I needed to improve my coaching, but I didn't know how. This is a common problem in gyms all over the world. How do you systematically improve your product? And the answer isn't just get more credentials. Today, I've got Oskar Johed here, and he's going to give us the real answer. My name, Mike Warkentin. This is Run a Profitable Gym. Please hit subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Now, Oskar owns CrossFit Medis and CrossFit Sickla in Sweden. He's also on CrossFit's Level 1 seminar staff. Coaching is one of his passions. His gym has more CrossFit Level 3 trainers than any other in Sweden and maybe even in the world at this point. His gym does over $1 million in revenue just by focusing on basics and delivering amazing service. So Oskar's going to help us systematically improve coaching. Welcome, Oskar from Sweden. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Mike, for that introduction.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, especially about something that you are very passionate about. So I'm going to dig in here and let's help some people fix their coaches. So talk to me about a gym's product. What is the main thing that we are selling?
Coaching, like results. We can talk about, self-actualization and stress and pain relief and dream fulfillment and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we sell results. Like it's that's what we deliver. And that mostly is linked to like aesthetics and maybe some performance and weight loss. But it's, we sell coaching to improve people's fitness. And then we know there are cascading effects of that. That could be psychological and emotional and spiritual for that matter. But at the end of the day, I think we sell coaching. And some people might talk about, the care and empathy and compassion, sure. But honestly, I think if someone's yelling at me and called me weird names, but still got me really close to my results, I'd probably take that. So I think coaching is about giving people results.
You sell, as a gym owner, results that are generated through coaching. You don't sell community. You don't sell clean bathrooms. You don't sell reverse hypers and cool air bikes and all that stuff. That stuff can be in your gym, but you don't sell it. You are selling results through coaching. So think about that. Some people, I made this mistake. I thought I was selling community. I'm not. I'm selling results. So Oskar, when is it time to focus on a gym's product? Like I focused it on at the wrong time when I was losing $5,000 a month. And I'm like, I'll improve my coaching and everything will get better. That didn't happen. So when should a gym focus on coaching?
Well, I think it kind of depends. See, two things come to my mind. One is obviously if you are the owner that runs the gym by yourself, and now you're going to start offloading some of the tasks to your team, then probably you should start focusing on coaching before you fully step away from the dance floor. Because there's going to be a pretty big discrepancy between the care and the quality of coaching from the owner and when you start filtering in part-time trainers or even full-time trainers. So in order to make sure that transition is as smooth as possible, you probably have to start doing that before there's like, hey, the owner coaches, the Friday evening class, and then Monday comes a complete newbie, and it's going to be a huge discrepancy of the product. It's going to be unfortunate. It's going to be, a necessary hole to dig yourself. But from a more general perspective, I think that it is the product that we sell, but you should probably focus more on that, like right before it's no longer your strongest spinning plate. You obviously want to make your coaching better, your product better. Be also better at sales. You need to be better at marketing, better at, average staff development. You need to be better at managing your time. You need to be better at, building relationships, taking care of yourself, like
retention,
all this stuff, right? So there's so many things that we could potentially focus on, but since it is the number one product, it's the one thing we sell. So when you think that your sales is better, like objectively, then probably you need to focus on that. Because at the end of the day, at least according to me and what I've seen over the years, it is the product. Like you coach people to get results, and it doesn't really matter how nice the bathrooms are. People will not sign up if the bathrooms are dirty. We know that for sure, and all the other things. But at the end of the day, people want results. So when something gets better, when something gets notably better, then I think that it's time to like maybe start focusing on that. And to your point, like if we go back 10 years or so, coaching was pretty decent around, because a lot of, at least despite some in CrossFit space, the owners were pretty excited about coaching. They got really good, maybe, 7, maybe an 8, maybe even 9 out of 10, but they didn't really focus on the business. And, when the heydays of CrossFit were kind of over in a sense, you had to focus the business stuff. And now a lot of people fix the business stuff with, from the resources and what we can provide in Two Brain. So the operations of the business, the behind the scenes, so to say, might be, 6, 7, and 8. But now the product is not there anymore. And then it doesn't really matter how good your sales if you're losing people, because once again, results are going to give retention. That's going to bring a thriving community because people are fit, people are happy, people get results, but the product is really important. So I'd say make sure right before something gets better, it's probably when you should focus on the product.
Yeah. And I can name maybe off the top of my head a dozen amazing coaches. These were top level coaches who don't coach anymore because their businesses were bad, just like mine was bad. They're gone. So the coaching space has lost these leading lights, and these were great trainers because they were able to run a business. So what Chris Cooper's talked about is that passionate coaches, we want to coach people, and we kind of end up opening gyms on the side often. So the coaching's pretty good, but the business aspect is horrific. Once you get the business plate that's wobbling to spin really nicely, then you start looking over at your coaching. You're like, I haven't addressed that in a while. Now it's time to get it. So I'd say, in agreement with you, Oskar, when your business is stable and things are going pretty well on the other side, meaning your operations are good, your staffing's good, your systems, business, sales, marketing, retention, all that stuff is going pretty well, start looking at your product again. Then you can really focus on that, because if your product is great, your business systems suck, you can go out of business. That will happen. So let's talk about this now. What is you're looking to improve your product. What are the first steps to doing so? How do you ensure that this process is simple, focused and effective? Because a lot of people are just we need to make our coaching better, try harder, and maybe get another credential. That's not the answer. What is?
Get an awesome business partner that takes care of a lot of the hiring. Because I think you can avoid a lot of problems by hiring the right people, right? And in my case, Carl, we've been doing this together now for 10 years. And he's, at least for the last 3 years, he's been really hard on in hiring coaches. That's been his side of the business, and he's been doing a really good job there, and making sure we hire the right people, because it's going to be very hard to eventually get people to really want to outperform themselves every single time they step on a dance floor. Be compassionate, ask that another question, make sure that pick up the trash, maybe spend 2 more minutes at looking up a progression for the class for someone who has an injured leg or something. And that's so much easier if you have the right people you can mold from the start, so to say. So hiring is obviously something we should be better at.
I got to ask you this. Coop has said this: hire for personality and train for skill. Do you do that?
Oh yeah. Like all our trainers, we have nine individuals that has passed the level 3. We can talk about that separately, about credentials and all that stuff if needed. But 3 of us have made it to CrossFit seminar staff, and I think one of us maybe have some kind of degree in no one has a university degree in strength and conditioning. We are all just
you're a banker.
Bankers and average people, right, that got pretty good at one thing here because we cared about it. So that is something I wholeheartedly agree with. Now it's very hard, that in the beginning you get, and if anyone can alleviate the pressure of you having to coach every morning, every lunch, and every evening, you can take anyone that can just not mess it up worse than no one, right?
Yeah, you're awake and breathing.
Right. And if they can smile, that's even better, right? So in the beginning, you obviously take whatever to you can spend some time with your family, that, or take care of yourself. So you kind of have, some people in your organization to have to deal with. But going forward, I think number one thing is to make sure you hire the right people for what you're looking for. We can talk about credentials again, but whatever you're looking for in your organization, that's what you should hire for, right? Now, when you have people there, you should obviously focus on the lowest hanging fruits, because we've talked about previously, there's going to be spinning plates everywhere. There are going to be fires burning, and you have to let some fires burn. And then you have the whole, hey, what's important, what's urgent. But if you look at how can you get some quick wins? And I think if I just look at if you have, I talked about this on the summit, if you have a newer coach, an intermediate, and a more seasoned coach, 3 avatars or so, we actually have more steps. But if you have a junior, mid, and then experienced, if you were a newbie, just make it fun. Because if someone just gave you the keys, hey, here's the shirt, go and coach your class now, you're going to be, deer in headlights, you're going to be super intimidated, and you're going to be quiet, right? And so you need confidence. And confidence is going to come with experience. But if you like genuinely believe in what you're doing as an organization, you got to be more confident. So if you're a new coach, if you just make it fun, I think that's going to improve the product short term pretty quickly. If you are like a more seasoned coach or a senior coach or experienced coach, like you've been doing it for a while, if you just decide to focus on one thing this after you listen to this podcast and you're like, you know what, today we're gonna be doing the power cleans. I'm gonna teach one thing in the power clean. I'm gonna look for one thing and I'm gonna try to correct it or acknowledge improvements here. Like we can look at 20 different things in every single movement, which is quite a lot. And then different individuals respond differently. But if you decide, hey, today I'm just going to focus on this one thing, I'm going to address this, I'm going to be looking for that one. And that's the one thing I'm going to have a few cues for so I can correct them. That's going to make me, because I know what to look for and I know what to say if I don't see it. And if I see it, I'm going to say, good job. Because at the end of the day, as a trainer, my job is to honestly be able to say, hey, Mike, that's better. Like that's better in terms of like reducing the risk of injury or improving your performance or in effort. Hey, I know even if I looked at a recording, that one did not look any better than the previous one, but I can damn sure tell that you're trying. So, hey, good job on trying, right?
Finding wins.
Yeah, because then you go, dude, I'm going to the Olympics or the CrossFit Games pretty soon, right? Because that's what we're looking for. You then objectively made the product better because you feel, or we can see noticeably change in your performance. So just focus on one thing and consistently do that. And then you can start adding 2 things maybe per movement, and 3 and 4 and 5. And all of a sudden, everything's better. And then, like, as a group, what you could do that we do, we're not the owner of it. Like, this month, focus on one thing. Hey, team, just make sure that the whiteboard brief is no longer than 4 minutes. Like, no one came for this into lecture. So, hey, and Carl did this in maybe, let's say, March or April. Hey, he recorded a 10 out of 10, like, whiteboard brief. Like, this is the workout. Like, this is the what, this is the how, and this is the why. And then check for injuries and demo the movements done in 2 minutes and 20 seconds, right? And if you're a complete newbie, you can just say, we're doing 5x5 back squat. This is a back squat. It looks like this. And we're doing it to get stronger. A more seasoned trainer can talk about like energy systems and like how you're going to have maybe some like you improve in weight. And then you're going to like, are we going to do straight sets or undulate or whatever? But just like, this is what we focus on, everyone. Right, in this month. Next month, you might be focused on, hey, team, just make sure that no one stands around and listen for more than 1 minute after the workout has started or the session has started. Or let's just focus on making it fun. So, hey, prepare a few ridiculous jokes or have like a question you ask everyone right on the whiteboard. Hey, who's your favorite superhero? Or like something that we can all agree on. So we do something consistently to bring up the consistency in the product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm going to point this out for listeners in case you missed it. Oskar is focused. He's recommending you improve one thing, make sure it's better, then hit the next thing. You can't just say, I'm going to improve every single aspect of coaching all at once. I'm going to make you see, correct, whiteboard brief, everything, remember people's names. It's frazzled. It doesn't work. You need to focus on small aspects of improvement and incrementally improve things over time with focus. So Oskar gave a great example. This month, we're working on better whiteboard briefs, and there are different levels within his system for beginner and expert coaches. But the point is, we're doing a short brief. We're explaining why we're doing the workout. We're demoing the movement, and then we're getting moving. Something like that, right? An area of focus. The other thing you said that I'll reiterate, hire the right people. It's tough to do this sometimes because you're frazzled and frantic and you can't figure out, how am I going to see my kids today? You hire anyone, you put them in place. Not maybe the best plan. You might have to do that at the beginning, but the better plan is to find the right person and its personality first. Does this person want to learn? Is this person passionate? Is this person likable? That's a huge one, because if you hire a really skilled jerk, your product is not going to improve. Hire a likable, passionate, teachable person that you can mentor to success, integrate them in your business, let them know your vision, and so on and so forth. And then you're going to have focus on improving them. So Oskar, I got to ask you this now, because you laid out the focus for these things. You talked about hiring the right people. You hire a person now. How do you ensure, what is your system for ensuring that these people regularly get points of performance and improvement? Do you evaluate them regularly? What do you do to make sure they're moving from here to there?
Yeah. So we've laid out a pretty extensive coach's journey that starts well before someone becomes so before you put on your coach's shirt, you have gone through our internal training, which is, we call it like coach basic training, where you look, in our case, at some material from the level 1, some level 2 stuff, some it's an advanced version of the advanced theory course that most people run in TubeBrain. So we kind of mix a bit of we've actually made an online course. So we have like modules, so they can just log in and they can answer some questions about like what we do. Yeah. So because Carl did all of this by hand in the beginning, that was great. But I think right now we might have like 30 people in our system. And this cool thing now is that it's just an open funnel. So Mike, if you want to become a coach at our gym, in the past we had to sit down and interview you. What Carl has done brilliantly is that he will send you a link. First, actually going to ask you, like, record a session of like 3 to 5 minute video on these are our values. We fundamentally want to improve the health and quality of life of our members and their families. How does that resonate to you? Why do you want to be a coach? Send us a video. And if that one is not like a 8 or 9 out of 10, we're just going to say bye.
That's personality right there. You're screening for personality.
Yeah. And everybody could make something up, but that's perfectly fine. But then we send you a link. You start going through some modules on what we believe is fundamental, basic understanding of CrossFit. If you are a strength and conditioning coach that don't have CrossFit, or if you're a member that coming up through the ranks, you might know the application of CrossFit because you've been a member of ours, but you don't really understand the theory behind it. So we created modules where we go through what we like a very, very, very condensed, slimmed down version of the L1 in like 15-minute chunks, like super small, right? Take some quizzes. And then after they've completed that, we sit in. So if you might be coaching and I have a newbie coach, we'll sit in and watching you run a class. And I will explain to that person what you're doing and what you're doing well, and maybe what you aren't doing so well, what you should be doing. And then after maybe 1 or 2 times, we then make sure that, that the newbie coach might be doing the general warm-up. And then they're walking right by you. So we gradually increase, if they're doing well, the responsibility they can take. So then a more seasoned trainer, there used to be Carl, and he was just not burned out, but he was all over the place doing this. So if you're a seasoned trainer at our gym, you can then mentor someone here, and then they might start doing, the general warm up a few times. And when that's good enough, based on our criteria that we've written out, and you're given feedback after each session. Hey, you were moving well. You got to be louder. Like, you need to make it fun. Use more names. But the thing you got feedback on the last time, that was a huge improvement. Now you need to make sure you mention it by name, and you can't be quiet. So, and then if I coach that person next time, I know that feedback. So, hey, I heard you aced the first part, but today you're going to focus on names and be louder. Do you have a strategy for that? I'm like, yes, cool. And then I give feedback on that. And when they pass the basics, they maybe get to next step, which means by specific thing, and then the full workout, and then they do the entire session. And then when that is good enough, they then have the right to become a coach. In our case, they have to have the level 1 as well. And then we can put them out on the dance floor. What we saw in the spring, because we onboarded quite a few new clients or coaches, is that it's very important for us to start on time and finish on time, right? Because our members are very, very, they're busy. So for us, that's a promise we've made. Like, I know gyms that's more fluent, so to say, in
I can't stand it.
No, hey, and I understand, but that's our promise. And some coaches, that's fine. But for us, we said, you know what, we're going to start and finish on time because we know your life is very busy. So in the beginning, we saw that they were really adamant in making sure that. So they lost that the fun. So, and they spent so much time focusing on the clock. So they did some of the coaching and teaching part, but forgot the coaching, which is more about the seeing and correcting and that. So what we do now is that your first 10 sessions, you're going to be an assistant coach. So all you do is just walk around and make sure you're pretty much on one thing. Like in the power clean today, I'm going to be looking at hip extension. I'm going to be looking at, if I see something that's ridiculous or unsafe, of course you're going to fix it. And you are free to fix something else, but you're going to fix one thing per movement that you've talked with this more senior coach about that runs the class. And you're just going to run around as an assistant coach and see and correct. So you get really comfortable at walking up to someone. Hey, Mike, shoulders back. Good job. Thank you. No, that's not the shoulders. That's your knees. Shoulders are the right. So for about 10 sessions, You just want them to run around, get comfortable, to in someone's face and say, good job, I genuinely mean it, or hey, you need to work harder, or do X, Y, Z. And then maybe after 10 sessions, they then can run the class by themselves. Then that's when they're like, now starts the fun part. Now is we are probably going to do weekly evaluations with them.
Wait, so you don't just cut your new coaches loose in the gym and never evaluate them ever again? Because I did that.
Well, that would have never have had, that would have never happened in the past ever at our gym. Which did, right?
Common though. It's so common.
Oh,
you're desperate. So you put these people in place and you're like, Godspeed, my friend, coach the snatch, I'm out. And then all of a sudden everything goes wrong. So you've documented, you have a progression for getting people into the gym. You have an elite level progression where you've got everything documented in online modules, but then you're actually going to evaluate and mentor these people after they become coaches.
Oh yeah. So yes, because with our product right now, our coaching it's I can confidently say to the clientele that we have, our coaching is almost too good. So when we have newer coaches that come in, they've been going through maybe 6 months of training before they get to step foot on the dance floor as a responsible trainer for that session. So most of these trainers are far more experienced and better at the craft than a lot of the trainers that I see on the L2. But because of the standard that we have of really senior good trainers, there's still a huge discrepancy. Our members are very patient, but if they're not proving quick enough, we will hear about it. So we've made our product almost too good, but we want to continue that. So what we do is we've written down like expectations per level. So we have 7 levels from, let's say 6 from when you're like a coach high five, you just hatched. You coach your first session. We only expect you pretty much to, by yourself, it's going to be like, hey, start on time, finish on time, make it fun, have fun, make it as safe as possible, right? That's the only thing we ask for when you run your first 5 or so sessions. When you've done that, maybe by sessions 5 or 6 to 10, start using names. Like when you teach something, you're going to name it and show it. Like you don't have to do anything more than that. We don't expect you to have a refined eye on what you're looking for. If you just go, hey, this is a power clean, it looks like this. Now do it. That's fine. For maybe a few sessions, maybe 2 more weeks. Then we might evaluate you again. Okay, now you taught the power clean. What would be one thing you want them to focus on today? Well, hip extension. Cool. Focus on hip extension. So if you focus on hip extension and you teach it, maybe you should have a strategy to correct that and you know what it looks for. Yes. Okay. So then you look for that. So, and that's for teaching and seeing and correcting. And then you have the same, like if you look at something like presence and attitude, like we might just expect them to make it fun and have fun for the first few sessions. Then you start layering the complexity by adding names. But eventually, when you're super elite level ninja, we want you to make deep, profound, meaningful, you should build meaningful relationships in class without stopping people and sitting down and drinking coffee, right? So even though you might only have a 20-second conversation with someone while you're correcting their hip extension, you should still be cognizant enough to ask about how their day went, maybe how's their kids doing in school, because last time we spoke, they were struggling somewhat, and how's the new job going, without taking away from the product. So obviously that's far more that we can expect than a complete beginner. But there's a natural progression here that we have written out for everything. So Carla's made a gargantuan job of like, these are the bare minimum stuff, and this is what you have to do before you get to be on the dance floor. And now, cool, awesome, high five. But now we want to get you here. Within like 2.5 years now, you should be a CrossFit level 3 trainer. These are the steps you got to take. So when we hire people now, we can say that this is like, you are here now. We want all of this from you in the future. If you're not willing to invest the time and be mentored by us, that is perfectly fine. But we expect you to do this because that's what we genuinely believe is important to keep the product or the quality of it to the standard that we have made a promise to our clients about. So it's very detailed and Carla's made an enormous job in the last, I'd say like probably 24/7 in the last, 3 months or so.
So listeners, what you just heard here is an elite level plan to improve your product at your gym. I'm going to boil it down for you in case you're not quite at this level. You may not have a Carl at your gym who can do all this stuff for you. Here's how you do it. And Carl's very rare. And this is a very top level plan. What you need is regular evaluations. You cannot just set people loose and assume everything is going to improve on their own. You must evaluate your coaches regularly. Chris Cooper has recommended every 3 or 4 months, 6 months, twice a year is better than no times a year, right? Put a regular evaluation system in place. Okay, so that's your first thing. The second thing, you need to be able to evaluate. You need an evaluation system. Chris has recommended writing down 10 different things that are essential for a great coach, ranking your coaches out of 10 and starting there. The next thing you can assign, Oskar was big on this, focus. You can't improve everything. Give them an area of focus. We want to improve. This is your worst metric. It's seeing and correcting or whatever it might be. We're going to improve this, and we're going to improve this at the next thing. Here are some resources for you. In the next evaluation, we're going to talk about it. If you do this stuff, you're going to get your coaches, they're going to start improving, but you have to have these elements. You can't cut them loose. You have to evaluate them methodically and systematically. That means you can't just sit in your office and be like, pretty good. No, you're a 7 out of 10 in personality. You need to work on that and start being more engaging, using members' names, give them some numbers, document your starting point scientifically, and then give them resources, mentor them to get to the next level, then check in with them. That process is exactly what Oskar's doing, but you can do it at a very, very simple level. You might just have 5 things on your checklist to start. And like Oskar said, for you, it might be show up on time, start the class on time, keep the whiteboard brief under 4 minutes, give the reason for the workout, use some people's names, and improve one technical thing. Whatever system you have, make sure it's there. Evaluate people regularly, mentor them to success. If you do that, you're going to have a much better product. I'm going to ask you this, Oskar. Do credentials matter?
Like in some contexts, I think they do. Like like I know CrossFit space well. So in order to coach at a CrossFit gym, you do need a level 1 or higher to be on the dance floor. So that's because of the licensing agreement that you've signed. And it might be other franchise models or where it's like compliance, the compliance side of it, you might need it.
There are some insurance requirements, sure.
Sure, yeah. That aside, credentials might not matter, but the pursuit of it does, I think.
So that's an important distinction. Yeah, I get you.
Because I'm intimately familiar with the level 3 exam. It's an exam. That's 160 questions. You sit down in front of a computer for 4 hours, and then I think it's like A, B, C, and D. So theoretically, you could go in there and just go abacadabra, A, B, B, and then you might pass it, right? And then you have the credential on the wall. Would that make you a better CrossFit trainer? Of course not. That's everyone can understand that. But what I've seen, if I look at our trainers, and when I went through that in 2017, is that I did it not because I wanted the credential on the wall. I just knew that someone said, hey, you should know all of this. If you know all of this and can apply it in the context that I'm in, that would earn you the right to call yourself this. Okay, sweet. And someone has laid out what I need to know. Let's get after it. And personally, it would not make any sense to spend like 6 months, 4 hours a day to pass an exam. And then like, you know what? I have all this knowledge now and I'm not going to apply it. That would just be ridiculous to me. You could technically do that. So I can just look at, we had a coach that passed the level 3 exam a few weeks back. And so we have weekly like study groups for our coaches that we can sit down and we review a video or an article or so, or look at videos of people, moving. And I could see the shift week to week. We said, hey, let's look at in CrossFit the 8 common movement themes. Let's look at midline stabilization. Now we talked about that for an hour, looked at some videos, and then we said, hey, go out and apply that. Specifically look for that when you coach for the next few hours, the next few sessions, and see if you can identify your eye and be better at looking for midline stabilization. Oddly enough, they get better at that. And then you keep doing that for every single thing. Like, they read about the zone because that's a part of the test. So they went on the zone diet for 3 days just to refine their eye and calibrate the stuff to apply it, right? So like you would be a complete idiot if you did not apply the knowledge that someone is handing you. If you take the time to go through a certification, regardless if that's weightlifting, gymnastics or nutrition or mindset or whatever. So no, the diploma doesn't make any sense, but the pursuit of getting there, as long as there's some kind of practical part to it, then I guarantee as a residual consequence of you earning that paper on the wall, you should be a better trainer.
Yeah, so my position is very similar to yours. I think you need a bare minimum qualification that gets you allows you to be insured, right? And you have to have some technical knowledge of some stuff. Like you can't just be a fitness coach and have no clue about anything. You need to understand something. And in addition to that, you need to have a desire to improve your craft. Now, whatever that might be, because here's the thing. If I get another credential, let's say I decide I want to do a CSCS and I'm going to invest all this time in studying for this exam and blah, 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 but I'm still kind of a jerk and not very likable in front of my clients, it's not going to make me a better coach because my clients are all going to leave because I'm an ass, right? So here's the thing. I would evaluate more credentials like this. Will this credential allow me to produce better results faster for my clients? If the answer is yes, get that credential. If the answer is no, you don't need it because it's just another thing on your business card. Coop's written about this. He had this business card with all these alphabet soup on it. It didn't make him a better coach. He was very knowledgeable, maybe the best, most knowledgeable trainer in his entire town, but he said he was going broke, right? So the idea is get the credentials that allow you to work, pursue improvement at all times, but that improvement may require credentials. Like if you want to take an Olympic weightlifting course to be a specialty coach to help your clients qualify for the totals they want. Yes. But you don't have to get every single credential because you might be able to work within your gym system. Like Oskar, you said, Carl is set up. Working through that system will also allow you to become an excellent coach, even without an additional letter after your name. So that's, I think, a really, really key one. I want to ask you this, Oskar, as we close this out. We talked about focus. So focus this for our listeners. What can a gym owner right now do to start improving a coaching product? And let's keep it super simple. Help them figure out one thing that they can actionably do today at whatever level they're at to start making their product better.
Ooh, one thing is going to be...
I'll give you a couple.
I'm trying to be as concise as possible. Like the number one rule I have is to never walk by someone without saying something. So like the worst thing you can do is just ghost someone, just not even acknowledging them.
Good lift.
Not even that. Slightly better is just to like, hey, good. At least and then like slightly better than that is still like, good job, Mike. Still
With the name. Yeah, the name. Right.
Still pretty bad, right? Then slightly better would be, hey, Mike, you're rounding your back. Like, at least I'm acknowledging that you're doing something wrong. That's still pretty low. It would not even meet the high bar. But then like, okay, maybe Mike, chest up, right? And then acknowledge, high five, better job. So like, make sure you never walk by someone. And if you move systematically, if you coach more than one person, if you just make sure you move systematically, like if you walk, you start from the whiteboard and you keep walking clockwise in the room, like, and if you allow yourself to never walk by someone, as a rule of thumb, never walk by someone without saying, honestly, say good job. Once again, only good job in terms of good effort. I see no improvement, but good effort, or actually that is an improvement in your mechanics. Then that everyone at the end of the class would have like the total number of like good jobs would be equal, right? So never walk by someone without actually acknowledging something. And if you're going to say something, at least make it productive.
So that's a really good one. That could be something in your coaching progression at your gym. So now, Oskar, talk to me like I'm a gym owner and I've just reached the level where my systems are acceptable now. The gym is running pretty well. There's no raging fires burning. And we've determined, you're my mentor and I'm the gym owner. We've determined that like, it's time to look at your product right now. Your sales are good. Your retention is great. Your length of engagement, your average revenue per member, all these numbers are really good, but your coaching maybe could get a little better. As a gym owner, I'm your mentee. What would you tell me? What is the focus starting point for me to start making my product better now that my business is pretty good?
Number one is obvious. I think one of the pieces obviously define the process. Like at some point you need to, write out your coach's journey. So you have something you can show for the people. You also need to like have your expectations or your SOP. Like this is, these are the minimum requirements. Maybe just minimum requirements total, or just like, hey, by, experience level, start writing out your standards or your expectations. You got to make it easier. Because they say, hey, Mike, you're a newbie coach. You're here right now. Don't worry about all the other stuff. Focus on A, B, and C, period. Now we're going to start moving you towards D, E, F. And these are the things, but don't worry about that eventually. So that thing obviously is very important. The thing that something that's also very, very practical fast is record your sessions. We do that. So we mic ourselves up with a wireless mic, because it's great if you as a trainer or head coach can evaluate all your staff, but you can't because they're in the weekends where you're spending time with your family. Just mic yourself up with a wireless mic, have put up your cell phone in the corner of the room, and then watch it afterwards. And it's going to be huge. So if you as a coach or the head coach or the owner would do that and just put that, because you're still probably one of the best trainers in your gym. And then you can evaluate yourself like, team, here are 3 things that I think I did pretty well. Here are pretty bad things. These are things that I probably should improve on. Because then you show that you're pretty open and vulnerable to your staff, but they're still going to think you're amazing. And then that is a very effective way to get your coaches to level up, to watch yourself, because it's very uncomfortable to watch yourself. And then after that, is start getting feedback from someone who's better than you are. It could be in this case that you get your more junior coaches to record themselves, coach a session, they evaluate themselves, and you say, I agree, keep working on A, B, and C. You can also watch you, but get, outside help. Like I've offered help to, I can confidently say that I've offered to like review people's coaching, like record a session and email it to me, and I will give you feedback in a week. And I probably said that for 7 years, and I've had 10 or so people take me up on the offer. So I expect and hope that this one might be the one where people go, you know what?
A wasted chance.
Yes. So do it, and I'll do it. And that's a very fast, tactical way to improve your things. To your point, I'm not going to belabor this, but like everybody needs to get better at everything, and everybody needs to improve everything in their business. But if you just focus on one thing, your clients are going to be noticeably changed in the quality of product. They're going to tell, dude, that was awesome. Thank you very much. And that brings that smile that you just gave me. It's enough for someone to go, dude, that was pretty fun that I spent 2 minutes before the session started at figuring out a progression for the double unders or something. And it worked. Dude, think about all the other things that I can improve the product by just spending a tiny amount of time to improve it. So you record your sessions, focus on one thing, and try to get feedback from someone else. And if I'm at our gym, if you coach a class and I am not a coach, I have to give you 3 things you did well and 1 to 2 things that I think you should do better. So feedback rich environment, and it's hard to say, it's uncomfortable, but it's very important.
So if you have a structure at your gym right now for coaching, a thing that you could take from this podcast and start doing is record, or have your coaches record a session and evaluate it. Even send it to Oskar if you want. That's a really cool thing that you could do if you have that structure. If you're just at that early stage that I said where I'm at, my gym is finally running well and I want to start looking at coach development and improving my product, what you're going to do is you need to set up an evaluation system. What is good and what is better, and how are we tracking it, right? It's got to be meticulous, and it doesn't have to be like an endless thing. Chris Cooper, 10 things essential for a coach, rate them out of 10. The second thing that I would recommend you do, set up that career journey. Exactly what Oskar said. What is the progression of a coach through your gym? And that doesn't have to be a million items either. It's like apprentice, intern program, whatever it is, and then low level, intermediate, expert level, whatever those things are. If you do that, you're going to be well on your way. And the final thing I'll say, whatever stage you're at, regular evaluations are essential. If you just set it and forget it, it's going to burn down in the background while you're doing other stuff. You must do this regularly. You, the owner, the CEO, do not have to do this yourself. Someone has to do it. You could certainly delegate this role to a general manager or a head coach at some point. That is very acceptable, but someone needs to be ensuring that your coaches and your product are great. You as the CEO can assign that. Oskar, does that make sense to you?
Yeah. So, and finally, one thing that I'm just going to end on, the way we do our evaluations now is that, like, if you are the coach and I'm evaluating you, and I could be, to your point, the head coach, or I could just be slightly more senior than you. Honestly, I could actually be less senior than you because it's written down what I should look for. Because we agreed.
That's the system.
Yes. And I'm just going to hold you accountable to what we agreed on you should focus on. So what we do is, you coach a class, I'm walking almost right by you. We call it almost the Band-Aid approach.
Yes, I like this one.
I'm walking by you. It's kind of awkward the first few times, but you get around to it. Because then if you say you're a newbie coach, hey, start at time, finish on time, use names, right? If I walk by you, every time you say a name, Mike, good job. You said Sarah's name, awesome. Pat on the shoulder.
Feedback.
Yeah. If you walk by someone and like say, good job, I'm like, good job. Oh, good job, Stephen. Good job. Right, Mike? So then we can speed up that feedback loop so much faster, right? And then you can instant feedback. And then it might be only for the warm-up. And then after 5 minutes, I alleviate the pressure by walking away because I've already made that session better. And next time we do slightly more. Maybe we extend my stay where I'm like close to you for slightly longer. And now, like if you're experienced, I will walk by you I will walk right by you and give you instant feedback all the time, because I can talk in one ear and you can apply that right away in your sessions. It takes some time, but that's something that's extremely powerful. And if someone wants to get into that or send me a recording of your coaching, hit me up and I can link you up with myself or Carl, and we'd be more than willing to share how we do things.
Where would they send that?
So Oskar with a K. Let's do it. twobrainbusiness.com is going to be the easiest one. So Oskar with a K at twobrainbusiness.com. I don't know if Carl, send it to me, and I don't know if it's Carl or Kalle, so I don't really know. Yeah. Send it to me and I will forward it to him if needed.
That is a huge bonus for podcast listeners if you want Oskar to take a look at your coaching. Oskar interrupted his vacation to talk to me this morning and his afternoon. So I want to thank you for doing that, Oskar. This has been super great. You've given people a ton of stuff where they can use to improve their product at their business. Thank you.
Thank you, my friend.
Oskar Johed. My name is Mike Warkentin. This is Run a Profitable Gym. Thank you so much for watching or listening. Please hit subscribe wherever you are. And now here's Chris Cooper with a final message.
Hey, it's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a quick note. We created the Gym Owners United Facebook group to help you run a profitable gym. Thousands of gym owners just like you have already joined. In the group, we share sound advice about the business of fitness every day. I answer questions, I run free webinars, and I give away all kinds of great resources to help you grow your gym. I'd love to have you in that group. It's Gym Owners United on Facebook, or go to gymownersunited.com to join. Do it today.